Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Denise Dalton. Born and raised in England, Denise pursued studies in child development and education following her primary schooling. Throughout her life, her dual passions for sewing and childcare have been enduring themes. Today, she is the proud mother of 4 and a blessed nana to 7. Life is a gift and has a way of taking us along a journey that evolves, and Denise has learned to embrace that journey through the good times and the challenging times. Her love for sewing began in childhood, inspired by her mother's sewing classes and school curriculum in England. What started as a hobby evolved into a full-fledged business as she recognized her natural talent and passion for textiles. From sewing clothing for herself at a very young age to creating costumes for her children's theater and dance productions to designing window treatments, Denise's journey into entrepreneurship felt like a natural progression. I hope you enjoy hearing from Denise today. Denise, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I had the pleasure of, I've met you in person before, but I had the pleasure of going to the Drapery House on a recent workroom tour with Janelle Deck, and I knew a little bit about you. And after talking with you and meeting you that day, I just wanted to hear more about what your story is and how you got started. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So why don't we start with having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who Denise is, where you are in the world, and a little bit about your business.
Okay. My name is Denise Dalton. I'm located in Leesburg, Virginia, and my business has evolved. It's been an ever-changing process, but I currently have a little boutique retail shop, and we have our own workroom, which we've had, since 2008.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you, in your bio, it says that you learned to sew as a child. I'm not hearing that as often as I used to. In the beginning, all of my guests learned from their mothers, and now no one has learned from their mothers. So tell me a little bit about your journey learning to sew and how it brought you to where you are right now.
It's sort of interesting because my mom did not sew comfortably. I mean, I always was crafting or creating.
Okay.
I was always doing something with my hands as a child. And so my mom was actually attending sewing classes to learn how to make something. And I went alongside with her. And I made a little smock top. And I honestly never realized that everybody couldn't do this quite as easily as I could do it for many, many, many years later. And my mom could crochet. I mean, she crocheted a dress for herself. But sewing, we did have a sewing machine, but she wasn't as comfortable as I was, sort of just playing around. And we did sewing a little bit more in the UK than in the US.
Okay.
I think I made a christening gown. We had to darn socks. We made a soft toy. We learned, doing the darts in the Taylor's tacks, I think they were called.
Oh, yes,
Right.
yes.
So it was, I kind of wish I realized how extensive it was. But I just thought, because I found it easy, because most of the rest of school was hard, I thought, well, everybody must find this easy. And it actually wasn't until years and years later that I realized, Denise, you actually have a knack for this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Denise, I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it like that your mother wasn't entirely comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also agree with you. I think for many of us, once we started to learn these skills, it did come more easily to us than to others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so fascinating when you think about the trouble that some of us have had in understanding what we should charge and what we should earn and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
if we've viewed this as a skill that isn't that difficult, then I don't think we've
Right.
always honored just how
Right.
difficult it is for other people.
Right. Definitely. And I mean, I would go out, buy fabric and whip up a dress and wear it that evening and
Mhm.
think nothing of it. And I
Right.
made, bridesmaids dresses. I made clothing. I think I made a three-piece trouser suit when I was 14. And I just thought everybody could do that, It was just, and I loved making clothing, and it was something that I generally just enjoyed.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's funny that you say a three-piece trouser suit. I remember
I'm
buying,
dating myself.
well, we're in the same boat because I had a Calvin Klein pattern. It
Mhm.
was pants, a vest, and a jacket.
Mhm.
And I had started on the jacket and I was cutting the pocket. And instead of using the tip of my scissors,
Mm.
I slid the scissors all the way in and I sliced down
Oh no.
and cut right into the body of the jacket. And I think eventually I folded that all up and threw it away because there was nothing. I had no more fabric. Everything was all
Oh.
cut out. I may have made the pants eventually. I don't remember, but I still
Yeah.
remember slicing into the body of the jacket through that
Yeah.
pocket. Yeah. That has
Yeah.
stayed with me all these years.
Well, what's interesting to me is at no point did I ever consider sewing as a career path or even fabricating or design for even clothing. Never. I just was always focused on, childhood education,
Okay.
development, and working with children, that I just thought, oh, this is just a fun skill to have. I never, ever considered it to be a career.
So when did it change, Denise?
Well, gosh, I was a nanny in the UK and over here, and I would just the first thing I always bought whenever I moved to a new location was a sewing machine.
Okay.
And so I would just sort of whip up little outfits and create things, and people would be like, "Oh gosh, can you do this for me?" And I was making, costumes for um people that I'd worked with. And then somebody had been to like Pierre Dur back in the day and seen a balloon shade when they were
Mhm.
brand new and had said, "Oh, it's so expensive." And I remember looking and saying, "If I can get a book this weekend, I'm pretty sure I can whip that up for you." Not even thinking how much this fabric might cost or what I might be
Right.
cutting into. I just I just had this confidence about me when it came to sewing, that I'm just like, oh, sure, I could do that. I mean, people would ask me, could I do a slipcover? Could I do this? I've never done any of these things in my life. And I would just go, oh, sure, no problem. I can do that. I don't know what I was thinking. I was a pretty confident 20 something,
I think that's wonderful because
Mhm.
clearly it worked out for you.
It did.
But
Mhm.
at what point did you decide that this was a career path for you?
So I did, when my oldest was little, I did decide that I would do window treatments for a little bit.
Okay.
And so I did kind of continue that journey, once I started having children. But it didn't last very long because sadly my dad had passed away. We moved, I had more children. So it just kind of got put on the back burner. I was sewing for myself.
Mhm.
And then I was doing costuming for theater, for dance. Whenever there was a sewing project, I was always volunteering, making 35 costumes or something, or
Because
creating.
it's easy, right?
And my children look back and they're like, "Mom, you were mad." And I'm like, maybe a little
That's possibility.
certifiably insane, but I loved it. And it just, because it fed my creative soul.
Right.
And that's what it did. So, I mean, so for years and years, I just continued to sew, but in different capacities. And it actually wasn't until my children were pretty much all through high school. My youngest was a junior, and she's still yet to quite forgive me. But well, maybe 2004, before my oldest had actually graduated high school, I looked at what was I going to do when I had this empty nest,
Hmm.
because I knew I would just need to fill that time.
Right.
And I thought, the only thing I've ever measured once that remained the same was a window. I thought,
True.
these dancing girls and these theater kids, every time I measure them, that's like they've grown a little bit, or the fabric's given. So I just thought windows, that was it. I was going to do windows. And at the time, I don't know, like the combination of, I can't remember, it's been so long, but I remember either joining the WCA and finding out about the Cheryl Strickland
Hmm.
conference, or vice versa. I can't
Okay.
remember, but I did attend that, and I just got the bug. And I'm like, wow, people do this. This is a
Yeah.
real thing, right? And I remember when I was sewing, when my oldest was younger, I can remember them receiving fabric from a client, because I didn't sell fabric back then,
Mhm.
and it had a flaw. And so I folded it up and shipped it back. And I remember the client saying to me, they weren't very happy with you the way you sent it back. And I'm thinking, well, what's their problem? I had no clue it had to be put on a bolt and rolled and sent back, because that's how naive I was to the
Right.
industry. I just had no idea that I
Right.
probably was cutting into, $200 yard fabric back then, Um, but so that sort of got the bug going. And then I did join the WCAA. I did attend that conference.
Hmm.
And then I was going to do it quietly from home. I actually rented a little space
Okay.
in an antique shop, and just rented a little space, and I would have like embroidered towels and window treatments and pillows, just to kind of get my client base going.
Right.
But then it was in 2008 that a friend had told me that someone was selling their retail shop. And it was a piece good store, and she did custom window treatments.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh, this looks fun. Knew nothing about retail, nothing at all, no business plan, nothing. But I knew my children were getting older. My youngest was now a junior.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, this looks fun. So yeah, went in and purchased really just a lot of inventory, because there
Okay.
actually were no systems.
Okay.
And I probably could have taken the same money and set up something on my own, in hindsight,
Hmm.
right? In hindsight. But we live and we learn. And as I told my accountant, well, there's so much potential. He's like, Denise, you don't pay for potential. And I said, oh, but it's so exciting. Why not? So I did, and the rest is sort of history. So really, I think I'm like the eternal optimist.
Okay.
And it was 2008. Well, we all know what happened in
Yes,
September
we
of
do.
2008, right? So, and that's when I'm like, okay, this is serious now. I have bills to pay.
Yes. So what did you said it was a piece goods store. What was the purchase? Beyond potential, what was the
Yes,
purchase?
so the purchase was, this lady had previously, not long ago, within the last year or so, had purchased another company that was called, I think, Hurt Fabrics, which was a 50-year-old window treatment company.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of inventory, because it was bolts on the floor, it
Right.
was hardware, it was trims, it was this fabulous measure machine, which to this day remains my favorite purchase. I look at that and I say, you were worth every penny. And it was an old house that she had rented, which we continued to rent.
Hmm.
It was not our ideal location, but the biggest thing when you take over a business is not moving right away, because
Right.
people associate the location. And
Hmm.
so I actually did end up staying there for 10 years and funding my landlord's retirement for quite some time. He just loved me.
I'll bet.
So that's when it really not became real, but that's when, there was definitely a much stronger commitment to
Right.
to make it successful.
And was she already fabricating in that location?
So she was. So she had turned the bedrooms that were upstairs. It was an old house, and she turned the bedrooms like into workrooms, which was fine. I mean, I did have my own workroom space at my home. And it was a while before we actually did end up hiring a seamstress because I just couldn't keep up with the selling and the sewing.
Right.
There was just too much to do. Yeah, yeah.
So were you only retail? Were you retail and to designers? What was
So
your business like?
initially, it was a little of both because she had been to the trade as well, but she worked a little differently. Essentially, it was mostly designers that she worked with. They basically got 10% savings.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't because everything had to be ordered through the shop.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I'll be honest, I tend to not work so much with designers anymore just because we are retail, and most
Okay.
designers want to be able to, make their margins on their fabrics and their hardwares and
Right.
things. And to me, that's not, the workroom is not really, there's not enough margin on just the workroom for a retail location.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So you're selling, you're working literally out of a house, hence the drapery house, and the fabrication is going on upstairs. And what's happening downstairs? Are people shopping for fabric? Or
Yes,
they
so we had multiple little rooms. We had bolts of fabric and trims that were in stock. And there was just about everything: wallpaper, hardware, tchotchkes. And I remember the very first Saturday that I worked in the shop, and somebody had come in and asked about something, and I'm thinking, I have no clue what she's even holding. Or whether she can purchase more of it or where it came from. So there there was a lot to learn when you walk, because the jobs continued. Like, she had outstanding jobs, and she was stepping down because her mother was ill, so she was
Okay.
actually stepping down to care for her mother. And so she had jobs that were outstanding. We had jobs that were outstanding from our own businesses. So there was a lot of kind of, you kind of had to wrap up her jobs before
Okay.
taking on new jobs.
Okay.
And I just remember her saying, don't worry, people will come through the doors, I promise. And they have, and they always have. And that's what's been interesting to me. And we definitely do see cycles, like election years are always troublesome sometimes. But it does sort of cycle, and people just seem to keep coming through the door.
Okay. And
Mhm.
you've changed locations. I was in your new
The new
location,
space.
and it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like I
Oh,
wanted,
thank you.
I have access to fabric, and yet I wanted to buy all the fabric you had there.
Oh, thank you.
What was it like to change from that large space of an entire house
Mhm.
to this beautiful but smaller?
It, it's it's hard. It continues to be a challenge. Because I knew we had a huge garage at the last location, and my upholsterer actually used to work out of that garage, but he's sadly since passed away. Um, and I had a lot of storage at that location.
Okay.
And so my biggest issue now is, where did that storage go? And it had to
Okay.
come back to me. And then the other issue that I knew that I would deal with, and I've sort of kept pushing it on the back burner, and I'm dealing with it head on right now, is that we at that point we had two seamstresses, and I was comfortable enough with them that I knew when I made the move, I could easily hand them the key, to my home, which is where my workroom had been, and move
Right.
them back there, which I did and was very blessed for many, many years. But I've reached a point again now where I'm at that rock and a hard place where I need to
Right.
decide, do I build another big she shed separate from my home so people can come and go, or
Right.
am I going to just outsource? And I've been trying to manage that outsourcing the last couple of years, knowing that my seamstress was, going to be retiring. I mean, she was
Right.
73, bless her. Um, and I miss her every day. Um, and I've realized that because we've been custom for so long, there are so many things that we do in-house that are very difficult to do outside of the house.
Right.
And I
Right.
try, and I've got certain people that I'm happy with the way they manufacture certain products, but there are certain little things that you lose control over, like you lose your pattern placement, you lose your timeline. There's just little things that you really not take for granted, but realize how fantastic it was to have that control. And I don't mean control in needing to be in charge of everything. I mean, just to be able to manage projects,
Absolutely.
make deadlines, put smiles on people's faces.
Right.
Because I have had jobs that have, been returned that I've subbed out that have been incorrect. And then I've
Right.
had to say, gee, so sorry, but we're going to have to wait a little bit longer while
Right.
this gets corrected. And that's not a comfortable place because I've not had to be there before.
Right.
So it's really interesting. Growth is hard and downsizing is hard. The best thing from the downsizing is that I did purchase my space.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was a plus. And then the other upside is that old house, we could never really make it, I could never make it the way I wanted it to look. But
Right.
with a new space, you can actually design that space to fit your model and what it is your clients like, which I
Right.
knew were like hanging samples. Like we'll make the flags, the 27 by 27, so they can borrow
Yes.
those, bring them in their home. So I knew what space I needed for my retail client to be in.
Right.
Um, but I do miss having that extra space because it meant receiving, comes back home. Like there were so many things in
Yeah.
fabric inspection, receiving, all of those items got pushed back, which is why I really need this big she shed.
Yeah. We'll talk you into it before we're done here, Denise. I promise you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we talked about this a little bit, and I'll
Mhm.
give a little tease that Denise's space is an upcoming Real Workrooms tour that Janelle Deck and I did together. And what I love is that we all do things so differently. And you had a really clear vision for how you wanted this space to be,
Mhm.
including not putting drop ceilings in and making sure it felt uncluttered, but yet there's so much to look at. And I remember
Mhm.
thinking, I've been in spaces where I literally can't pick one thing to look at because there's too much to look at. And
Mhm.
yours is so well organized and so beautifully put together that I saw so much more because I was able to stop and look at this and stop and look at
Mhm.
this, and you were able to find the things that you were looking for. You wanted to show us a book, you were able to pull it out.
Mhm.
And there was something about that that was just, to me, was perfect. But I also really, really understand that part about needing the messy space and needing
Mhm.
the where's the fabric going to wait till I'm ready to use it.
Mhm.
But to your point earlier, Denise, I find that to be the largest roadblock for people who are
Mhm.
trying to grow their business, whether they're scaling it or just want to make a little bit more money.
Mhm.
What do you give up control of? And again, I think that word control gets a bad reputation
Mhm.
sometimes.
Right.
When you have carefully done things in your workroom to look a certain way,
Mhm.
because that's what your customer wants, you can't necessarily send that to a large commercial workroom and expect them to fold the pleats the way you do or make
Mhm.
sure the site, all of those things matter in
Mhm.
the final product that you are trying to deliver. And I think it's really hard for those of us who started these businesses because of our sewing skills,
Mm-hmm.
to either let go and let another
Yes.
workroom entirely make it,
Right.
or to bring someone in to teach them how to do it the way we want it done.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
you already had women who were skilled at making the window treatments. Did you have to teach them much about how you wanted things?
Initially, yes,
Okay.
but I was really lucky because they both were skilled seamstresses. They
Okay.
both had workroom experience.
Hmm.
It was just and they knew it's like they knew I do have pretty high standards, and they knew if Denise wasn't happy, it wasn't going out the door.
Okay.
And I'm probably my client's best advocate
Okay.
because I'm so picky.
Hmm.
And but it didn't take long before we were able to understand, okay, how is it we're making this? If ever they had a question about placement, we would just consult on it. It was never a big deal. But it got to a point where for years, I could just give them a work order and I knew it was going to be beautiful.
Right.
And if they weren't sure about a placement and I'm not there on site, they can send me a picture and say, "Hey,
Right.
Denise, what do you think about this?" Fine. So I was really honestly blessed for a long time. Um, I think I told you just as I met you, I've recently hired a gentleman,
Mhm.
and I'm super excited, and he's doing very well, but it's very different because I've gone back to the workroom, which has been an interesting journey too, because I've been selling and doing the other side, which of the business, which I do enjoy, but I truly missed being in the workroom.
Right.
And I want to say it was last summer, I actually gifted myself a class down at Workroom Tech because I'd seen a class with a custom lampshades with
Right.
Wanda Shanahan. And I'm like, I wanted to have fun because I
Yeah.
actually enjoy sewing.
Right.
I do enjoy sewing, but it's very different when you're sewing a project on a deadline.
Yes.
I've definitely felt those pressures a little bit in the
Yes.
last few weeks, and I'm like, oh, this is how they felt. And now that I'm, trying to teach, which is very hard to do when you're a small workroom and you're
Right.
making cornices one week and panels the next week and Roman shades the next week, because we're not doing the same thing
Right.
every single time, it
Right.
takes longer to learn a skill.
Yeah, the muscle
Um,
memory's just not there.
Right, right. So those have all been sort of interesting that I realized that I need to look at, we all had systems. I mean, I've gone through the systems so many times over the years, but what's interesting, especially when you're, in a boutique retail, is your systems are forever changing and
Right.
you have to keep revising and updating.
Hmm.
And although I might have said to the girls for years and years, write down what you're doing, nobody does.
Right. Well, because they're busy making.
Because we're
Yes.
creating it, right?
Yes.
And you think, oh, I'll never forget that. And I can remember, Magda would say to me, I don't remember how to make that. And I'm thinking, what do you mean you don't know how to make it? You've made 100 of them. And yet I was in the workroom last week and I'm thinking, wait, how do I make this?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
totally understand that feeling of, wait, what did I do?
Right.
And I actually just watched Susan's little podcast on the balloon shade, which I
Mhm.
used to make. I loved making balloon shades, but that was so much fun to watch and go, gosh, wait, we used to cut all those pieces apart and then put them all together? Really?
Yes. Yes.
I don't remember that, did we?
Right. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
And I have said this too, especially in my workroom. I'm not doing as much fabricating as I used to do. And so sometimes weeks, if not months, will go by and
Mhm.
I've made things, but I have not made the same thing. And,
Correct.
and,
Right.
and again, I have to stand over my table and say, now, how do I do this? And
Right.
what's
Right.
my first step? And
Right.
I
Right.
also think, Denise, there's a misplaced confidence when you've
Mhm.
been doing things for a while. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking specifically about the women who might have been working for you. If
Mhm.
you had not established that relationship with them, they had their way of making things. And
Mhm.
if an almost pattern match was okay with the people they had worked with before, it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't occur to them to stop and say, gee, I wonder how Denise would like this.
Right,
And
right.
so all of that had to be taken into account as you were developing your
Mm-hmm.
business. And
Mm-hmm.
now you have to teach it all over again to someone new.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, in light of all that, have you ever considered quitting?
No, really. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, but I like quitting sort of, I've realized quitting is sort of not in my DNA. I just, I guess I like problem solving
Okay.
because I think business is a constant, we're constantly problem solving.
Yes.
And the one thing, if the one thing having a retail space has taught me, or a retail sort of shop, it like business is ever evolving. When I look at how the industry has changed, when we were a
Yes.
piece goods store,
Hmm.
that whole platform has changed now too.
Yes.
And so you have to be willing to just keep moving and learning and growing because nothing stays the same.
No, it does not.
And that can be quite frustrating for some of us that like things to be the same, right?
I struggle with that a little.
Right. But you have to be willing like 2020. A lot of I know I changed my business model a little
Right.
bit in 2020. Now I'm only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And in part that was because, in 2020 when we all shut down, when I finally did get back together, I'm like, okay, we got to nail everything in the first appointment. So I would
Right.
task clients, take a photo, do a rough measure, bring in pictures, or fabrics or a pillow or something you're trying to match. And we literally would select fabrics, we would select hardware. So I would have everything I needed for that quote on that first appointment. Um, and then I
So,
realized, and I continued that model. And then I realized I used to be open Tuesdays through Saturdays. And I thought, let me try this Wednesday through Saturday. How many people are really shopping on a Monday or Tuesday for
right.
draperies?
Right.
And it works. And if you say this is when we're open, that's when people come.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling, Denise, like what you're saying is because things had to be done a certain way
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, you tightened up what some of
I
your
did.
systems
Mm-hmm.
were.
Yes.
And since it was working, why undo it?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
fascinating.
Yes, and I'll be honest, I sort of joke that I don't drive around the Beltway anymore measuring because a lot of people will call, we're retail, so they want you to come out. And we actually don't come out right away. We
Okay.
actually ask that you come into the shop because I can't possibly bring all these fabrics to your home.
Right.
And we want to get an idea because when you're inside the shop looking at fabrics, whether clients realize it or not, we can tell pretty quickly what you like and what you don't like, even if you don't realize what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
But, just aversions to animals or, flowers or colors that there's certain fabrics that just evoke feelings in people and you can
Right.
see that excitement. And I
Right.
always tell people this is your home, you do not offend me if I show you something and I love it and you absolutely do not, that's
Right.
totally fine. But we get a lot of work done, and then I also find that if clients make that commitment to come in, they're generally a very interested client and they're
Okay.
not generally just shopping pricing or
Okay.
ideas. Because I feel like I've donated enough ideas over the years.
Ah,
I don't need to do that anymore.
oh, Denise, I think you have like just hit that nail on the head. You have donated enough ideas. Absolutely. And I love it, it's interesting. There's a circle time webinar that one of our members did that was about how she does her systems for selling in retail. And
Hmm.
I'm hearing some of the same things from you that Sue Berry presented. And part of it is that on the first phone call,
Hmm.
she gets some certain information out of them and
Hmm.
decides right then and there if this is a person that she can work
Right.
with who really, but you're right, when there is a commitment of time or money,
Hmm.
or effort, people tend to be more invested in the outcome of it.
No, they totally are. And we really see that difference. And the times when I break my own rule and I actually go out,
Yes.
then generally, generally we look at each other and go, yep, we were right. We shouldn't
Yeah.
have broken our rule. So it just, and it's not, we're not trying to be unkind by not driving to see everybody, but it truly does sort of narrow down, are you genuinely interested?
Yes.
Or are you just trying to find the best price and lots of ideas?
Right. And as you said, you've donated enough ideas and you are not a price point
Right.
service.
And we're not everybody is not my client.
Absolutely.
And I'm very clear about that.
Mhm.
And that's what we're trying to qualify to. So a lot of times we'll just kind of not pre-qualify, because I don't like being asked what my budget is. So that's not a question I ask my
Mhm.
clients. But I will often throw out, well, if we're doing a pair of stationary panels just on, hardware, a pair of one width, expect to pay maybe $1,500 approximately starting, just for stationary. And
Mhm.
right away you can tell, if that's too much for somebody.
Right.
Right away you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold-level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klamaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klamaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klamaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klamaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klamakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klamaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. In our conversation, it was so interesting to me how you have so many people coming in, and a lot of them are not tire kickers. They're looking for beautiful fabric. They're looking to enhance their homes.
We've had like this, we've had clients for so many years, and they just, when I was new in the in the retail side of it, I would be so excited when I could cross somebody's name off the list. I'm like, yes, finally, we get to the next person. And then they'd pop up again a couple of months later, and you're like, wait, I've crossed you off the list. You cannot come back on the list. And any given day, we're probably juggling 40 names on a list. Like 40 to 50 names are on the list, seem to be constantly. It's sort of this, the business I sort of joke, it's like a hamster wheel. But some days you're running really, really fast, and other days you're just begging for the wheel to slow down just a little bit.
So, in light of all of that, Denise, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you over the years?
Oh gosh, the biggest challenges. I think sometimes the biggest challenge I think for me has been growth.
Okay.
Because it's really not happened the way that I thought it would happen, or as easily as I feel like it should happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily need to be, a huge store, but it's much, much harder to grow than people realize, because we've had, I think we've had 7, 8 people, on staff before. We've had multiple designers, but just by having more employees out there selling does not equate to more sales.
Okay.
That's the one thing I have learned. Finding the right people. This is a very niche industry. I'm really blessed right now because I have somebody in the shop who's familiar with sales and furniture and just fabulous with people, loves people, great with phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a gift.
Yes, it is.
Being able to communicate, because that person, that first line in your shop, that person that's answering the phone and greeting that client, a lot of it we buy from people that we like.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just recently had somebody in, and we were sharing stories about, we both live in the country, so we're sharing our little raccoon stories with each other. And when they left, and they were just there for vertical blinds, not even a soft product, a hard product, he said, I feel like this has been more of a social visit than shopping, but it's such a comfortable place to be.
Yes.
So it's finding people that are going to connect with your customers, that are your
Right.
customers. And
Right.
it's a very intimate space. And often I don't think people realize what an intimate industry this is with
Yes,
our
I agree
clients.
with that. I mean,
Mhm.
we're in their public spaces with
Yes,
them, and we are in their private space
yes,
with them.
yes, yes. And I think that human connection at the end of the day, we're all human. I'm a firm believer there is no fabric emergency.
Yes.
There is only a life emergency.
Yes.
So I try to, keep everybody in check there. But I mean, I will tell you, we have the best clients. And I say that with all honesty. Like over the years, we have just had the most wonderful clients. And I feel so lucky, and I don't really know what it is, but we've just been so blessed with great clients, so while growth hasn't come, I look at my numbers and I feel like they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down, but they never skyrocket.
Okay, gotcha.
Occasionally I'd love a skyrocket,
Yeah.
just occasionally.
A nice
um,
skyrocket every now and then would be a good
Yes,
thing.
just occasionally. But the one thing that's always been constant is a steady flow of work and a steady flow of wonderful clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Denise, I'm very curious to ask you, what is your definition of success?
Success. That's a good question, and a very open-ended question in so many ways.
I agree.
I mean, I honestly, I kind of look at my life and feel very blessed. I have 4 amazing adult children, 7 incredibly wonderful grandbabies. I see that as an incredible success. The business probably, and I don't really like to equate success with financial or material things.
Hmm.
I sort of see success as being able to employ people,
Right.
service, giving a good product to clients. But if I do flip that and point it to sort of a financial, then purchasing my retail space for me was a great success, because even though, I'm paying that rent check, it's paying, to my future self for, a retirement, essentially, if I so desire, that's a great feeling to go, oh, wait, I've almost done this, and
You're
so
not paying the
that,
landlord anymore.
right. So that's been great,
Okay.
that's been really great. But I'll be honest, I think when people walk in and these are custom products, they're expensive, but I don't think customers always realize how much work goes in, and for the products that they're receiving.
Mhm.
That it's not quite as easy as just ordering fabric and whipping up a pair of panels, right?
And it suddenly appears at your house.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you handle mistakes and failures? And I'm especially curious about that because you have employees and because you
Mm-hmm.
have
Right,
subbed out work.
right. So I do believe from failure comes success. I do see failure as a way to learn, a way to grow. And so for me, again, it's like, okay, what did we do wrong? What needs to be fixed? How can this be fixed? And I'll be honest, one of the ways that I judge my vendors, like people that I use as a vendor,
Mhm.
is how they actually handle failures. And
Gotcha.
if they throw the blame game, I'll be like, don't think so.
Right.
Right. So I look at that as a consumer for my clients, but it's like if we make a mistake, we would honor that mistake. Um, and but it's always a learning opportunity. Like it's never to be used as um, a way to embarrass anybody or shame anybody. It's
Okay.
always got to be a learning tool. Um, and I'm going to knock on wood. I'm going to knock on wood here, because we've been extremely lucky. I'm not going to say it out loud, or else I might do it. We've always managed to walk in the client's home with the correct fabric. Knock on
Okay.
wood. you know. Um, so, we've had we're a Hunter Douglas dealer, so we've, had some issues there. So I do sort of, often I'll take them to bat sometimes for the rights for my clients.
Mm.
Just little things like that. But again, I just see it as a way to learn.
Okay.
Um, even if it's something simple like like we're learning in the workroom and sewing, and it's like, okay, this isn't quite right, but here's a quick unpick. Let's undo it and just try it over again.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Denise, are you a book reader? Are there any books, business books
Oh,
that you read?
I wrote these down because I knew I'd never remember them. But yeah, yes and no, because if I read a book, I'm going to fall asleep.
Hmm.
So I like to listen to them listen to the books while I'm either in the
Gotcha.
workroom or driving. And I've really become a big fan of that. So business wise, I have a couple of business ones that I do love.
Okay.
The One Thing, you read that one? That's Gary Keller and Jay Pappison.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet.
It's so the one thing, it's basically, I've always joked and I thought it was true, but apparently it's not. I always thought I was a good multitasker. I really
Gotcha.
thought I was. I really
Hmm.
did. But somebody used this analogy the other day, saying, try and say, the ABCs and 1, 2, 3, every other one, like A1, B2, C3. By the time you get through, you're getting confused.
Gotcha.
And that's sort of how that multitasking goes. So the one thing is, and this is what I've learned, actually, I learned about this book in my e-commerce classes that I take from my website. It's focusing on one thing,
Okay.
because by focusing on one thing and moving that one thing forward, whether right now it's my workroom, solution, or
Mhm.
whether it's a new program that I need to do for quoting or something, focus on one thing. And then when that one thing is done, you move on to that next one thing.
Okay.
So it's a great book. And then the other one too, which I live by quite often, is the 5 second rule. Um, I love that. And I'm a huge believer. And if I can do it in 5 seconds, it's done.
Yes.
Sometimes I extend it to 30 seconds, but I do love that 5 second rule by Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
And then a book that I just enjoyed reading, because I know you're an avid reader. I don't know if you've read it, but The Lost Apothecary. It's by Sarah Penna.
Yes.
That was a good book.
It was an excellent book. I will
Mhm.
put a link to that for
Yeah.
people. Yes.
Yeah, and I think my daughter might have recommended that one to me. So every now and again I'll break, because I do love business books.
Hmm.
I really do. I really do enjoy like the business books too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the things I liked about the 5 second rule is that I can just get in my own way so
Mhm.
frequently, where if
Mhm.
you kind of do that, and the
Mhm.
other one is along with that, I put in Gretchen Rubin has a rule about if it takes less than 30 seconds, do it now. And
Mhm.
sometimes I'm wrong and it does take more than 30 seconds,
Mhm.
but it's done.
Yeah, it's a great practice to
Yeah.
try to do. And sometimes I have to push myself and I'm like, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it's done. Because
Yes.
otherwise you'll find yourself getting out papers. Where did I put that paper? Where's this? And yeah, so anybody who's busy, that 5 second rule is golden.
Love that one.
Golden. Yeah.
Denise, do you
Mhm.
use much technology in your business?
Um, let's see. I do. I'm really kind of loving learning about AI.
Hmm.
And let's see. So I have started using, and again, because my e-commerce, because I private label fabrics, I've actually got them on my website.
Hmm.
And so I've had random sales and I thought, oh, this is nice, making money in my sleep. Let me do this some more.
Yes.
So I actually am with a group that focus on e-commerce. And so that's been one of my babies, if you will,
Okay.
in my spare time that I still have. But anyway, I just recently did a class and they taught us how to use AI in
Mhm.
our marketing for our emails. And basically taught Claude, who like, oh, I told my kids, I'm like, I'm in love with Claude. My daughter's like, who is this person? Oh, and Claude is so agreeable, so agreeable. But basically, you train it in your voice, in your brand
Yes.
voice. And then I set it up to basically, all of the key points that I need for each email. I give it the
Right.
prompt for what it is I'm focusing on or what I'm
Right.
talking about. And then I just say, give me a response. And then it says, would you like another version? Sure, give me
Yeah.
another version. Would you
Let
like
me
a
see what
blend?
that looks
Sure.
like.
It's so good. And I've been shocked by how good it is.
Denise,
Yeah.
I struggled a little bit at the beginning. I had a really wonderful person give me, I took a class from her on
Mhm.
exactly how to teach AI your brand voice so that I
Mhm.
could do things.
Mhm.
Sometimes I am shocked by the
Mhm.
answers it will give me. And
Mhm.
as creative people, I have my
Mhm.
concerns about what AI can and can't do,
Mhm.
and who is it going to put out of business and who isn't it.
Right.
But as single person businesses,
Right.
I have found that I can give either Claude or ChatGPT a task.
Mhm.
I can go do something else and focus on only that in the
Mhm.
moments when I remember that I shouldn't be multitasking. But
Right.
then I can come back and exactly as you said, here are a couple of options.
Mhm.
Here are, would you like me to create a bullet point? Would you like me to put it
Mhm.
together for Canva? Why, yes, I would, because then I
Right.
can go do something
Right.
else.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we spend hours like thinking of a title,
Yes.
thinking, oh, well, that sounds stupid. Oh, well,
Yeah.
this or oh, that. And we beat ourselves up over it.
Yeah.
And you do it. And now I've done several weeks now, like several months And I'm just like, I like how it sounds. These are words that I would use.
Yeah.
And the key is to all of that when you're asking it to work is that is this something I would say? Are the things they're saying correct? And
Yes.
if you agree with that, that's fine. I'm not to the point yet where there's another whole level of AI now, which I'm not quite as comfortable with. I'm still sort of learning about, the actually having it doing tasks and things.
Mhm.
But I really think we do have to embrace and learn about it in order to grow and stay on top of the industry too,
Right.
because
Well,
we are
I think
seeing changes.
it's like denying, motorization and things like that are coming into
Right,
the industry. If,
right,
if, if you don't want to provide that for your customers, that's fine, but you need to know what it
right,
is, what clients it's for, and whether or
right.
not you're choosing to leave that money aside.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I like technology, I love like playing on the website, and
Mhm.
I've learned to do a little bit of coding, just basic stuff.
Okay.
Like I have a little chat bot, which I love. We use Asana for communicating, like our virtual folder, if you will.
Mhm.
So there's lots of things that I do try to embrace for the
Okay.
technology.
So, with that in mind, what three business items could you not live without?
Oh gosh. Well, the one thing I realized, which you don't really think of it as a business item, but I had my phone stolen. I think it was last year when I was in England.
Oh my
And
goodness.
you will be shocked how much information your phone holds, and that took a long time to kind of recover.
Okay.
And it sort of stopped me dead cold because it had everything on it.
Yes.
Um, So while we don't think of our phone, it's there giving me directions, it's there taking photographs, often I'm keeping notes on it or something.
Right.
So probably my phone. The other thing I was thinking about is I do love my measure sheets, my minutes matter measure sheets.
Okay.
I if I don't measure on those, I just feel like I'm missing something. Like
Gotcha.
if I, do a scrap of, it's just not the same. Like I know that I've checked all the boxes by using those. And of course, the machines, my machines. There are
Right.
so many things, the work tables, the machines.
Yeah, there really
There's a
aren't
lot.
three things, but I
There's a
like to
lot.
ask it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. But
Denise, do you do any sewing for pleasure at this point?
I just had three of my grandchildren yesterday, and while one of them was napping, the girls and I popped downstairs to finish their pajama pants that they'd started a
Oh,
little while
nice.
ago. So I'm trying to encourage the next generation to sew,
Mhm.
which is another reason why I try to stay in the business, because I'm like, oh, I would like my girls always, they never really did a lot of sewing because mom always could do it better. And often I
Right.
find when a parent does it better that they just don't seem to gravitate towards it.
Right.
So I'm hoping the little ones will. But I do just enjoy sewing just randomly. And what I've done just for fun lately, we'll take scraps of fabric and we'll make little gifts for clients. Like we'll make eyeglass cases and key
Mhm.
fobs and little makeup bags and little tissue covers. And you can kind of whip them up real quick and we pop them in the store and we just give them away. If
Right.
we've got a sale, and you would think we gave them $1 million because clients are so appreciative of these little gifts.
Uh-huh.
But I was just thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I really would love to just make a dress again, or just get back into actually clothing again.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
surprised how, for a lot of us, there are several people that I've interviewed that learned how to sew, but never made clothing.
that's
And
shocking to me. My seamstresses were the same. They
yeah,
had never, because they'd say, "Why do you like hand stitching?" It's like, why don't you? Like, I don't
yeah,
understand.
right.
Like, I don't understand because I love to hand sew, and
Yeah.
I love I can't imagine not knowing how to make clothing.
And
Um,
that's something I've tried to get back into a little bit
yeah.
myself
Mm-hmm.
because I miss that part of it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sewing as much as I used to,
Mm-hmm.
and it does require other skills. It's not.
Which I guess you must have, because if
Yeah.
you've been sewing clothing, I mean, and that's what I grew up learning was
Right.
that's what I started learning was clothing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite thing to make?
My favorite in the workroom.
Yeah.
Honestly, right now, I must say I did enjoy making panels. We made some panels this weekend, and I was sort of happy we'd made Roman shades and cornices, and I'm like, oh yes, a panel. Super one with panels. Yes, let's pop them out.
Let's get
Um,
that out of the way.
yeah, so which is sort of surprising, but and I love pillows, I do
Yeah.
love the pillows and things too. But and I think that, that's the tricky part too of being a small workroom is you make everything. We make the
Yes.
cushions, the Roman shades, the pillows, and there's really not anything, if it's made of fabric, we generally make it.
Right.
And as I get older, I'm like, really, should we? Should we always say yes?
Yeah.
I do question that sometimes. But because we have, and because our clients are often repeat and they know,
Right.
then that can present a challenge as your model changes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
remember, Denise, the first time I heard a fellow workroom say something about, yeah, somebody asked me to make one pillow. That's an absolute no. It's too much time. I don't make enough money. And I remember being taken aback by that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why wouldn't you make a pillow? And
Mm-hmm.
then listening to them and thinking about, okay, so I have to talk with the person who's ordering the pillow. And I work with designers, but
Mm-hmm.
so they're going to provide the fabric, but I have to tell them how much to make. I have to order the
Mm-hmm.
forms if it's not something I keep in stock in my workroom.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to worry about pattern placement and send texts and wait for the phone. It might only take me 45 minutes to make the
Right.
pillow, but it's going to
Right.
take me 2 to 3 hours to get enough information to
To
get
make
the
that
pillow.
pillow. Interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so I did. I think I had an instance where a designer came to me for one pillow, and after I did, I went, "Oh, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. If it's not attached to another job,
Right.
no, I'm not making enough money."
Right.
So that's very interesting to hear
Yeah.
that from your point of view too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's as we evolve, like as I get older, I'm like, okay, what's cleaner? Like I used to think of my website as the same as the store, an extension of the store, because originally that's why I built it, was to
Right.
communicate in 2020. I mean, that was why I built it. But now I look at it as a completely different model. It's a different
Right.
format.
It's almost like a separate business.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
and because it's a different client,
Right.
and it needs to be simpler. And so I look at that and I think, oh, well, should the other side of the business be simpler too?
Right. Right. It's
Um,
amazing what if we allow ourselves some room to think, we can come up
mhm,
with
mhm.
questions that lead
Yes,
us down a path.
yes, yes, yeah. But
Denise,
it's a fun industry,
it is.
Mhm.
What do you do extremely well?
Gosh, what do I do extremely well? Let's see. I do have a good ability to hyper focus, which I
Okay.
didn't realize that's what I was doing, but maybe that's what I was doing when I was crafting those 35 skirts that they were
Right.
dancing, in overseas, right? I would just get on my production. But even no matter what it is, whether it's doing a quote, whether it's sewing, I'm very much in my zone
Okay.
and don't like, I can be in that zone all day
Okay.
and not be disturbed and be quite happy.
Oh, that's
um
wonderful.
yeah, so that I'm pretty good at. I'm pretty good at the details, and the only reason I realize I'm good at the details is because I recognize sometimes people are not good at the details. And
Right.
it's only through recognizing, that I'm like, oh, well, wait, I must be good at details. But ask me what I did this time last week, and I probably can't remember.
I
because
can
I'm
relate to
very,
that.
so again, it's that laser focused in the moment now with the
Right.
client,
Okay.
and often, clients will come in and they'll say, oh, you don't remember me. And I'll be like, wait, let me think about what we made for you. And then I'll
Right.
remember the product. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember you. Like
Oh,
I just was
that's
at
so
someone's
funny.
house. Like I think we made her shades in 2016 and we're getting ready to replace them. And I'm like, I remember this fabric.
So not the person, but definitely the fabric. I think that's so
Right,
funny.
right. Yeah.
What do you not do so well?
I knew that was coming. How long do you have? No. Um,
Only one thing, just one
this
thing.
one thing. So probably the biggest thing I don't do is probably get out of my own way. You know?
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and probably my biggest downfall is that I'm far too independent and don't ask for help
Okay.
when I really should. And in fact, that's a skill I'm trying to teach my very independent grandchildren to learn now
Okay.
because I still am learning it after all these years. Um, and it's just who we are, it's how we're wired. Um, so yeah, that's probably
Okay.
and yeah, and I've realized over the years that I have a lot of energy, which I just assumed everybody had this same energy. I'm
No, I do
learning that
not
it's not
believe.
the
I
case.
believe you have far more energy than a lot of people I
So that's kind of not that I expect everybody to be able to run at the same pace that I do. But because I do manage to get a lot done, maybe because of the hyper focus, I don't know, then it can be a little frustrating to kind of go, oh wait, not everybody's running at your speed, Denise.
let me wait while they catch up to me.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So just learning, and but most part, I'm a pretty patient person,
Okay.
unless technology is going wrong or things like that.
No
Then
patience with that.
maybe not so much. Then
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
What about you would surprise people?
Oh, let's see. I was once a clown. And actually, I still have my shoes, and I still probably could put my makeup on in a quick dash. But yes, I went to a community college. A girlfriend and I. So this for the ever entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and so one of my first businesses that I set up it's called Just for Fun, and I was a clown. And at the time, I had just dyed a mop and put it on my head and called myself a clown. And a girlfriend and I went and entertained children. It was a lot of fun. But then I learned there was a class at the community college called the Art of Clowning. And I went, had a fantastic time, learned how to actually apply makeup and the
Mhm.
art of clowning. And then did legit, children's birthday parties, got my fantastic shoes, that were red and
I
white. They're
love
so
it.
good. And I used to entertain children, and I deliver the helium balloons and do a show. And I loved it. And of course, now everybody's afraid of clowns. So,
This is true. But
but
I'm just,
here's the funniest twist to this. The gentleman that I just hired for my workroom,
Mhm.
apparently his grandmother and I used to be in the same clown alley. Which,
No,
no, I'm dead serious. And a clown alley, for people that are curious as to what that might be, is
I am.
basically an organization of people that are clowns. So
Okay.
we would get together monthly and have a meeting. We would do parades or hospital visits and
Mhm.
fun things like that. And apparently she and I were in the same clown alley all those years ago.
My
Isn't
goodness,
that crazy?
that is crazy.
Isn't that? I
And
just found
I'm
out.
just inside my head. I'm like, you went to clown college.
Yeah, Tickles. That's my name. Tickles.
I
Tickles.
love it, Denise. That's awesome.
Tickles.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the best
Yeah.
answers to what about
Tickles.
you would surprise people. I love it. Tickles the clown.
Tickles. Hmm.
What do you love best about this industry?
Oh gosh, what do I love best about it? Oh, honestly probably the fabrics. I'm a bit of a fabric snob. I love textiles and
Mhm.
fabrics, but I love this industry. I love the people. I love the learning. I love the ever changing, evolving.
Mhm.
What I've realized that I've missed while I was trying to navigate the business for several years, I wasn't attending shows, I wasn't attending classes, and what I've realized the last few years is how much joy that brings to me, and
Okay.
how much I realized, I missed. Oh, I need to catch up on. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And what I realize is that energizes me. And so I think that's really important, is to stay connected, even
Okay.
when you feel like you're trying to navigate your own, because oftentimes we'll join groups and then we're trying to focus on, no, I've got to pay bills, I've got to focus on
Right.
my business, and you sort of step aside a little bit. And I realized just joining, a couple of classes down at Workroom Tech for fun, although I learned so much, I
Right.
absolutely learned so much. I didn't realize how much I missed the connection with
Okay.
with people with
Okay.
people in the like business, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What do you like least about this business?
Um, Sometimes how fast the hamster wheel spins.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Just because it's, getting the orders out, getting is so just trying to maintain the balance, really. Because what I've learned is you are never caught up.
No.
You are never, and that's a tough, like, for people that like to be able to close the books and say, okay, I'm done, I'm ready for the next project. This
Right.
is not your industry.
Correct.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is not your
Yeah.
industry, because this is a constant, and that I think can be challenging. And
Yeah.
so you have to mentally be able to set aside and say, you know what, I know I need to do this, but right now I need to rest and recharge. This is
Mhm.
tomorrow's problem.
Right, right.
So that's it, and it's managing that, expectation. And maybe it's more manageable, but maybe not. When you're a solopreneur, we all have our limitations for bandwidth, for how many
Right,
people we can deal with, right? And
right,
and maybe I feel a little bit more on the retail side, I don't know, but um not wanting to disappoint anybody, right? And just trying to
right,
to stay on top. But
right.
again, finding that balance in life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Denise, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, let's see. Besides a nice beach, no. Let's see. No, I would love to think my she shed was built and up and running independently outside my house, right? Possibly, somebody managing and running my shop,
Okay.
either independently or, something like that. Um, and I would love to see regular sales, like my website growing,
Okay.
and that's another whole separate little business, but I see it starting to trickle.
Okay.
And so that's exciting for me.
Mm.
But I definitely still see myself in it. Um, because I think not being a part of it is more alarming to me than still being here in five
Right.
years,
Right.
right?
I-
Because I'll be honest, I love my job,
Right.
and I don't really see it as a job. I just see it as what I do,
Right.
because I do love my clients, I love being in my happy place in my shop, I'm like, oh, it's my happy place. Um, so yeah, and then yeah, just keep on keeping on.
Okay. So
Mhm.
where can people find you before I ask you the final question, Denise? You have a website. It's the Drapery House.
DraperyHouseDesignCenter.com.
Okay. I'll put
Mhm.
links to everything in the
Yeah.
show notes for people.
Yep.
And are you on Instagram and
Yep.
Facebook?
On Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll
Yep.
put links to all of that.
Yeah.
So as much as I could talk to you all afternoon, I would love for you to share with the listeners, what advice would you give to someone who's new in this business or someone who's been around for a while or both?
Um, Maybe start with a business plan. No. If you're new in the industry or if you're a veteran like myself, honestly, soak up all the knowledge you can. Go to the conventions, go to the classes, and believe in yourself. Because a lot of times I think we sort of, I mean, I see myself doing it now, coming back
Mhm.
into the workroom after having been spoiled for many, many years. We second guess ourselves,
Mhm.
so believe in yourself, put out a great product, be honest, and the clients will just keep coming back. They really will. And no
Yeah.
matter how big or small your business is, as long as you're providing something that your client needs and wants,
Mhm.
you're gonna keep getting repeat customers, so and hanging in there, because
Yeah.
it's not for the faint at heart, that's for sure.
It is
But
not.
I think for some, um, maybe narrowing your focus, niching down is actually, quite a good, can be quite a unique thing to do as well.
Mhm.
So whereas that's not something that I necessarily thought of, it's certainly something as my business matures that I think, well, gosh, that actually could be a great strategic plan.
Right.
And not giving up on yourself too soon, and forgiving yourself that if you make a simple mistake, that we're human and that's okay. And you just get up and stitch it over again. you know so but yeah, just not, just kind of hanging in there, and just and absorbing the knowledge, and going at your pace, because
Mhm.
life happens. Life gets in the way sometimes, and finding that happy balance for yourself,
Right.
between work and home and family and rest and recharge as
Right.
well. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's great advice, Denise. Thank you so much for your time
Thank
today. I really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank
Good.
you.
I'm glad. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Denise today. I really am still always amazed at how different our businesses are and how we can adapt them to our own lives. And I love that Denise has gone from a large house to a smaller location and still manages to make it work. And I love that for her, working with a retail client is the best choice. One of the other things I really also enjoyed in this conversation was that Denise has a level of confidence that I found very refreshing. And it isn't that she doesn't make a mistake or can't make a mistake or something like that, but just that she had the confidence to know that she had the sewing skills and could figure things out. I also want to take a look at that focusing on one thing at a time and maybe start to establish that a little bit more for myself. I feel like for Denise, that has really been a powerful adjustment in her business. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Denise today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.